About a year and a half ago, the wife and daughter of a very prominent Brazilian entrepreneur got in touch with me. He was the founder of Latin America's largest retailer, really, and built up this business from nothing. You know, he was a billionaire, and he had sold half of his company to a French, also billionaire, president of a very large French conglomerate, and they'd worked together for some years, and then they'd had a falling out, and so they were fighting over control. And Abilio was the name of the person I went to see, and he was like 76 at the time. He was going to be chairman of the board for another 8 years. 2.5 years of just sheer battle. I mean, every lawyer you could imagine. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of lawyers, arbitration suits. It was all over the papers. I think the Financial Times called it perhaps the biggest cross-continental boardroom showdown in recent history. I mean, it was not just affecting the immediate parties, but their families, 150,000 employees of the company. It was even straining Brazil-French commercial relations. Anyway, so I sat down with Abilio. I didn't know if I could help, but I sat down with him in his living room there in Sao Paulo, and I asked him to tell me his story, and he told me the story, and then I realized, you know, there's always this negotiation with the other side, and that's extremely difficult. But as I was saying, sometimes even more difficult is a negotiation inside ourselves. And what I could sense inside Abilio was he wasn't sure whether he wanted just to continue to fight. He was a fighter naturally. You know, let's fight and fight. Or did he really want to reach an agreement? And sometimes, you know, we're also torn in a lot of these situations. What is it we want to do? So I asked him, you know, Abilio, what do you want? You know, how can I help you? What do you really want here? And he had a ready answer to that. He said, okay, I want the stock at a certain price. I want elimination of the non-compete clause. I want company real estate. And he had named 5 or 6 other things. Give me a laundry list of what he wanted. He was clear about what he wanted. But to me, that's just the beginning of because oftentimes we think we know what we want, but we don't know what we really want. So I asked him, but Abilio, you know, you're a man who's got everything. Family, you got everything. You know, is this really what you want to do with your life, is get involved in, you know, big dispute? I mean, what do you really want? What do you most want in your life right now? Anyway, he kind of struggled with that question for a while, but then after a bit, he finally said to me, you know what I want? I want my freedom. Freedom, that's what I want. And I said, so what does freedom mean to you? He says, well, it's freedom to pursue my business dreams, my business deals, and so on, and I want free to spend time with my family. So once we've gotten down to that level, you know, and oftentimes that's what we need to do inside of ourselves, ask ourselves, what is it truly that's important to us? What's the prize from the balcony? That's what we do. Then it turned out, once it was clear, you know, then I could ask a follow-on question. I could ask Abilio the kind of question like, okay, so you really want your freedom. Who can give you that freedom? Who can give you that sense of freedom, the thing you most want in the world? Who can give that to you? Is it your adversary, you know, the former business partner? Is that the only person who can give you your freedom? You're total hostage to him? Or at least to some extent, can you yourself give yourself that sense of freedom? And that kind of like opened up a possibility. He said, okay, yeah, well, maybe I can give myself that freedom. So there was this kind of decedent there inside himself. He said, well, I could go ahead and pursue business deals regardless of what this other guy's doing. I can go spend time with my family on a holiday. And he proceeded to do those things. And paradoxically, by doing that, he less dependent on the other side. And it actually made it easier for me then when it came to trying to find a resolution with the other side. And as it turned out, this huge colossal that all these lawyers were doing, I met with the other side in Paris on a Monday in a restaurant there. And the representative of the other side said, so why are you here? And I said, you know, because life's too short. Life's too short for these kinds of like lose-lose struggles, because that's what often happens in battles is, you know, each side's trying to win. It's a win-lose struggle, but in the end what happens is everyone ends up losing. And, you know, it's affecting everyone. So he said, so how would you settle this? What's your proposal? And I said, well, if we can just agree on 2 principles, I think maybe we can make some progress. He said, what are those? I said, freedom for each individual. Let them go on with their lives. We'll figure out a way to free them from this struggle. And dignity, because everyone wants respect. He said, so what would that mean? And he called me back in his office the next day, and we looked at it, and like on one piece of paper we set down what would be some terms that would tangibly reflect freedom for each individual and dignity. That was on a Tuesday. By Friday, we had both men in a law office in Sao Paulo signing the contract, resolving the whole dispute, joint press conference. They went then made a talk to all the employees of the company together, wished each other well in the future, and it was all over. So I'm just giving you as an example that here again, seemed like a very complicated dispute, but it really starts within us often. And so this new book of mine is about how do we get to yes with ourselves in order that we can get to yes with others. It's almost as if I've realized that we've been negotiating, these days we need all the tools we can get in negotiation. And we've just been focused on outer influence. How do we influence the other side? And we've neglected sometimes our ability to influence ourselves, who after all is our best instrument for influencing others. And so we can negotiate with both arms together. So that's the essence of this book. But